During the 2008 U.S. presidential campaign, candidate Sarah Palin uttered a line that permanently defined her public image: "I can see Russia from my house." Except Palin never actually said that. The quote was written by comedy writers and delivered by actor Tina Fey during a late-night television sketch. Millions of viewers watched the performance, laughed, and then immediately misfiled the information. Their brains stripped away the comedic context, permanently attaching a fictional script to a real political figure. This blurring of lines complicates a tradition that dates back to ancient Greece. Historically, political comedy functioned as parresia, the courageous act of openly speaking truth to power to hold authorities accountable. Through shared humor, these performances allowed everyday citizens to digest complex policies, to easily recognize political absurdity, and safely puncture their leaders' hubris. But when the boundary between a political lie and a comedic exaggeration disappears, the dynamic flips. A tool originally built to expose deception begins to operate as a highly effective delivery system for misinformation. Authoritarians have long understood that physical force is inefficient. To dictate reality, you have to control the vocabulary used to describe it. Author George Orwell mapped this exact process. His 1945 novel Animal Farm illustrates how revolutionary movements slowly wrought their own ideals from the inside out, using linguistic manipulation. Once the farm's leadership secures power, they maintain it by strictly policing the words available to the working animals. Instead, they quietly rewrite the foundational laws. A rule that once banned animals from sleeping in beds receives a subtle addendum: with sheets. This slight grammatical shift legally justifies the new elite's sudden embrace of human luxuries. This academic paper highlights how the text relies on irony expression to mask the vast gap between revolutionary promises and tyrannical actions. The research further dissects how leadership conditions the sheep to bleat repetitive phrases, effectively drowning out independent thought. When citizens lack the ability to question their leaders, language loses its function as a tool for communication and becomes a psychological weapon. Historically, the satirist countered this propaganda by stretching political rhetoric to its most absurd logical endpoint, forcing the public to confront the underlying hypocrisy. Today, that defense mechanism is breaking down. We are operating in a digital ecosystem governed by what researchers call truth decay, an environment where facts are rapidly losing their shared value. The failure begins with algorithmic context stripping. Social platforms violently slice long-form parodies into isolated fragments. When these hit a user's feed, confirmation bias takes over, and viewers process the exaggerated joke as literal, factual proof of their existing beliefs. This cognitive failure triggers the SNL effect. Because the content aligns with the user's political identity, it bypasses their critical logic centers and gets permanently archived in their memory as a genuine political event. The punchline is completely stripped away. What remains is a highly contagious, unverified claim masquerading as objective news. The modern algorithm takes a tool designed to expose the truth and reverse engineers it, creating an automated engine that manufactures and distributes misinformation. This leaves the modern satirist trapped. It is nearly impossible to unmask corruption when political actors openly perform their misdeeds without any pretense of rationality. When leaders openly broadcast contradictions, the satirist loses the element of surprise. You cannot shock an audience by revealing what is already on full display. Without a shared reality to anchor the humor, these comedic exaggerations stop generating unifying laughter. Instead, partisan tribes use them as rhetorical ammunition to deepen political polarization. For satire to function as a healthy democratic watchdog, the society watching it must first agree on a baseline of objective truth. Rebuilding that baseline requires individual action. Citizens have to construct a personal constitution of knowledge, a disciplined approach to independently verifying claims and actively rejecting algorithmic consensus. We can no longer outsource the heavy lifting of fact-checking to late-night comedians. To locate the objective reality hiding beneath the noise, we have to actively pierce through the slogans, the political spin, and the punchlines ourselves.